In this one we've done lots of other loose ends, and we've started on the brakes and suspension. So there's 2 more chapters after this. There's the getting it running and finishing the suspension, and then there's the going up to get it roadworthy. So I've just been to the chook shed, bought lots and lots of bits and pieces. So I reckon this one is certainly a tie-up of the loose ends as far as I'm concerned. So I hope you enjoy. One thing you can do when you're painting to stop paint getting into the threads is take a cotton bud and sort of plonk them in the holes, and that'll protect the threads from any paint. But I didn't bother with that because some of the bolts that came out are a little bit rusty. So I'm just going to run a 1/4 inch fine tap through them all. And that way I know the threads are nice and clean when I come to put the car together. This is what happens when you get a cheap paint job. I wanted to, that's as it came off the car, I wanted to colour sand it and buff it. Now I've only colour sanded a tiny bit and did a little bit of buff, and you can see it's just gone straight through. So that's all going to have to be repainted now. Because of what happened on this panel here, I've had to repaint it. Now what I've done is I've painted it quite thinly to try and get a good sheen level just with the acrylic paint. Normally you need to do that with 2-pack. So the last couple of coats I've done very thin to try and maintain a good sheen. Now I'm not going to colour sand the whole car back, given that it was very, very thin. The paint was thin on the front, and you can see here, this is the bit I don't like, it's sort of peely all over the place. Now to flatten the whole car out isn't a big, or it is a big task, but it's not a hard one. And because I've had to paint some of it, and you can see here, that's the original paint that was on the car, and this is all the paint that I've painted here, and I've sort of blended it in around there. Now I've left this a little bit peely to try and match in with that, because if I try and take it all back, I can see myself repainting the whole car, and I just don't want to do that. Up on the roof, it's the same story. That's original, and that's what I've done. And mine's a little bit smoother, but it's still by no means as flat as I like it. But I just risk damaging the paint too much that I'd have to repaint the whole thing, and it does look reasonably presentable. It's a little bit ironic because although I did the side dead flat, the top's going to have orange peel, which is sort of the about face way of having it. Normally you'd have the top perfect and the sides might be a little bit peely, but this is going to have to be the other way because at the time I didn't know the paint was so thin. So I wanted to be discreet about this. I've put a relay feed here so I didn't have any messy wiring going to the battery terminal. That'll take off from there, and I've actually painted the yellow part of the connector black. This is a 25 amp cable, so I've run it around here and brought it down. That can feed the relays. Now the blue and red and blue and white are both headlight feeds from high and low beam. I'm not sure which they are and the manual doesn't say. So I've cut those off and I'm just putting other wires on there. I'll mark which ones are which. So the relays can go here and they can feed the relay or switch the relay coil, and the existing part of it can connect to the relay. Now these are at least 10 amps each, these cables, so I'm not going to bother running new cables to the other side of the car. I can use those and I can run them off the relays and still use the original connectors, so they'll all look factory, and the only giveaway will be those 2 little boxes there. So I've modified the loom. I've got a big 25 amp power cable coming that's connected up here. So basically these 2, which were connected up there, are going to have the 25 amp shooting straight down into the headlights, which will give it nice bright light. And these 2, which are from the 2 switches, are going to be earthed against the little magnetic switch in there, and that's what will turn off and on. The switch in there doesn't use much current, so that it'll be much easier on the switch on the dashboard and the dip switch on the floor. Go Daddy! Woohoo!
Go Daddy!
Go Roso! You turn the camera off, Rosie?
Yeah.
Don't say words like that, Rosie, that's rude.
Hey!
You said a bad word.
No, I didn't.
Hey, where's that thing I gave you, that ratchet tool?
Oh, I'll get it.
Oh, magic, miss. Here. So that's got to go down, that's got to go up.
Goodbye.
I got very lucky. I bought an A60 Countryman a few years ago now, and it came with a whole box of new old stock lenses and spare parts, and I managed to find some brand new 2480 front lenses and Parker lenses, so that's a bit of a score actually. Now I'm going to try something. I haven't done this before. Here's an old one off an A60. I'm going to try and resurrect this one by colour sanding it and buffing it, so we'll see how that goes. This is a used one. It's a bit dirty, so I'm going to just get the hose and the toothbrush and try and clean some of this dirt out, and I'll try and resurrect it, see if this experiment works. If it doesn't matter if we wreck it, but it's worth a try. Alright, so I've given it a bit of a wash. I used the toothbrush, an old toothbrush in here to get rid of some of the muck. I'm just going to use a bit of 1500, and what this will do is it'll take out the scratches. So there's been adhesive here. I'll leave that because there's a silver sticker supposed to be there, and you can always get that sort of thing on. So now it's dead flat. We'll try and buff it up. Now you've got to hang on to it for this. If this runs away from me, get rid of that.
I'm not touching it.
Well, look at that. Now that's taken me 5 minutes to do that. Sometimes they fade. They lose their orange. Now this is model remote control model paint. It's designed for the Lexan type polycarbonate bodies, the clear ones that are painted from behind on remote control cars. You get it at hobby shops, and you can literally redo your lens. Now, if these lenses are faded to the point where they show white light, they're not roadworthy. And there you go, reconditioned lens. What I want to do though, polish all this. We can use the Menzurna, the car polish, to get all that nice and clean. And in here, it's oxidised. And what we'll do is we'll use a Dremel with a little brush attachment. Good idea to check in these globe socks that there's no corrosion and that these bases move correctly. You can always get a bit of Scotch-Brite and clean up in there. These look quite clean. It's alright, hang on, just give me a sec. Great way to mount relays is on an old piece of Meccano out of the kids' toy box. Wind up the relays for the headlights. I've used two individual relays. That way if there's a problem there's always one set of lights still available. You can get one combined one. Yellow connector underneath there's got two 25 amp cables, so I wouldn't fit the blue one. But that will mount very discreetly up there.
Hawaii.
Hawaii. That's very cocktaily. Wow. It's always good to have a supply of new mounting hardware. It makes putting the car back together a lot easier, and it also looks a little bit more professional. I always make sure I get grade 5 high tensile steel. That's what normally comes off these BMC cars, so I'm replacing them with the ones that came out. Always easier tightening these up with the gearbox extension. It's well worth winding this up before you put the grill in, so that you can peer through and see exactly where you're at in terms of where the spring lands in that saddle. Now without the grill, if the bonnet cable fails, you want to check that before you put the grill in, because if that fails, it's hell to open these things from underneath. This way you can just get in and open it up like that. We'll do a couple of trial shots, and I won't put the grill in until I know with no doubt whatsoever that that's lined up properly and the bonnet cable works. Beauty. Headlights are causing me all sorts of grief. I bought these new set of halogen inserts, and I tell you what, I hate them. They're far too flat. I don't want to take too much away from the character of the car. I wanted to get the older curve type ones, which you can get, but they're a lot dearer. But not just that, you can't get them at the moment. So eventually I'm going to have to go with that. I'll stick with the seal beam for now. They're curved, they look right. We've got the relays attached. These are 75 watts on low beam, or 7560 or something like that. So they use more power than halogen. The light won't be as good quality, but it doesn't matter that much for now. Until I can get the right ones of these, I'm going to return these. I just don't think they're going to look right. Not totally gone to waste with the relays because they'll still supply more or better power to them straight from the battery, so there should be an improvement anyway. Right, well here's our new exhaust system made using the old one as a pattern. So now we've got to put that in there. These can be a bit of a mongrel to put on. They're pretty easy on the manuals, but with the autos they're a little bit more complicated with these brackets and so forth. That's just sitting down there at the moment. I've got to put some exhaust seal around there. And I've just got the bottom sitting on a jack stand. So I'll put a bit of sealer on there and start nipping it up at the engine pipe, and then I can put a bell housing bracket on as well. Make sure you use the brass nuts. They're less inclined to gall on the threads because they get very hot to what the mild steel ones do. Getting a little bit harder to negotiate room here. I'm going to have to move this 14 motor. Started pulling the front apart. Stub axles out. We'll check the kingpins and put new wheel cylinders in. Stainless steel sleeve wheel cylinders, and get the shoes done at the same time. The rear, I've already pulled the rear apart. This rear axle is going to have to get dropped out. Exhaust isn't quite fitting the way I'd like it to. I'm going to patch it up, get it going, and take it down to an exhaust place, and they can finish it off and perhaps have that a little bit more vertical away from that shocker arm, I should say. This will all come out. Again, I've got some ripper wheel cylinders to go on here. Doing a bit of work, changing the front bumper over. The old one here's got driving light holes in it and a radio antenna mounted there, so that's going to have to get replaced with this one I just picked up from the truck shed. So all getting there. Got to bolt the bumpers up to the side of the car. They've had some rubber, like tie tube or something, I don't know what it was, but found this seat diaphragm off an MGB. I've just used a wad punch, punched out a hole and cut it out. It's lovely dense rubber. I might hang on to that. I'll stick it behind here so it doesn't scratch or do anything it shouldn't. Ooh. Bumper bar! Woohoo! Just about to offer up the rear bumper. I always use a little bit of masking tape just to hold some rags around because the bottom corner is quite sharp and we don't want to scratch that lovely paint we've just put down. If you're wondering why I look a bit sweaty, it's because it's 39 in here. Actually, we've got the longest record of consecutive days over 30 degrees. But I'll tell you what, you keep busy, I don't reckon you even notice it. Keep your fluids up. If you don't keep your fluids up, you certainly don't. But you keep busy, I haven't even realised. But yesterday I didn't do much and I sat around and it felt much more uncomfortable than it really is. Now bumper bars are normally held on with bolts. Now these ones were held on with a bolt and a nut, a bolt and two nuts, a bolt, a wheel nut and a washer. That's not how to do it. The threads are all damaged, so the best thing to do is get a 3/8 fine tap. They don't cost much. Run it through there so you know the threads are clean. I just had some of these lying around. That's got 6 dashes in the end of it, so it's probably a grade 9 or something. I'm not sure what that is, but it's a very tough bolt with a lock washer, a body washer on there, and once you tap your thread, you know it's going to fit. It's much better than using this sort of nonsense. What I found in the boot. Looks like it's a paper bag with a bit of masking tape on it. That surprises me that they used masking tape on this car with the amount of overspray it had. But there you go. When I bought the car, the boot was locked shut. So we've put a new lock cylinder in and had it coated. So now we have a operable boot lock. This seal here had gone, so I've just made another one out of some thick black gasket paper that I bought 6 years ago for a 9-inch Ford rear axle. That's locked. My little BMC key. Thank you, Mr. Morris. I used a bit of red to touch up this Wolseley badge at the front. They're very hard to get in any sort of reasonable condition, and the red I used was just some spare paint from that car, and I thought I'd tie the front with the back and do the Mark II badge the same. This is all pitted actually, it needs a new badge, but I thought, well, I can sacrifice this and stick it on the back and see how she looks. Right, so got to take the rear axle out now. Disconnected the handbrakes, got to do that both sides. There's a bracket up here, you can see that. There's that bracket there that's got to come off. The links for the shock absorbers on both sides. Then basically we'll take these shackles off and let it hang down, undo the front and cut it out. Let's push that down out of the way. Bit of a warm one today, 37 degrees. Good day to be in the garage. Because the moment it starts raining, everyone complains that it's raining, you can't get any work done, so you might as well keep your fluids up and work in the heat. Doesn't worry me. Now, I actually washed my shorts before. I had to hand wash them, and I put them on wet. It's like I've just been for a swim. It's really good. Now, brakes. These things, I'm going to take these linings off, put new cylinders on, and send these away to be redone. I'm sending these away with the drums so they can be radius ground and all this sort of stuff. Now, given that this is quite old, it doesn't look like the brake linings are all that old, but I do want to protect myself from it because there could be asbestos in there. The best way to do that is just to spray everything with water to minimise the chance of dust. Now, this won't harm anything, and even if it did, it doesn't matter. Your safety is far more important. So I'm just going around there, keep it out of the bearing obviously. There we go. 1 1/8 socket. Now these aren't a tapered needle bearing, tapered roller bearing, they're a ball bearing. Let's see if I can just undo it. Whoa. Having a bit of trouble getting the other side off, but I've got this one off the driver's side. That's as much as I want to strip it for now. Kingpins, there's a bit of play in there, probably hasn't been greased in God knows how many years. Shocker's got to come off, stub axle's got to come off, and we'll recondition those parts. Then we can put it back together with new brake hose and all that sort of stuff. We've got the female part waiting there for it. Always with brake pads, or brake linings I should say, these ones are going to get replaced and rebonded. I'm treating them as asbestos, I think they are, I'm not sure. So all of those are going to go up, wrap them in plastic, and they're a bit safer that way. Don't forget to use water when you're dealing with these things, keep them wet at all times. And the new ones you get, you'll find will be much safer because they will be, it's illegal to actually use asbestos now in brake linings. And then I can take the spring shackles off, just like that, just so it can't drop any lower. Just remember never to hit nuts or hit threads on the ends. They're nice threads actually, just put them to the... Maybe try and jimmy it out with a big screwdriver or something. God, these are fast to get out. Oh, good heavens. And these bushes here, we replaced these are shot to bits. Let's get new ones from Burson's, and in there too, and they're just completely gone. Look at that, it's just run right through, so that's not a roadworthy thing, and they're quite cheap at $20 a set to do. 39 degrees again. This time it says it's going to rain, but I love it. I'm only going to put a jumper on. Must be fairly accurate because they said it was going to be 37 today, and it must be another couple of degrees higher in here. Beautiful. I think we'll load this in the trailer and take it down to get a good clean. I'll scrape some of that gunk off. I wouldn't mind taking the centre out and having a good look at it. Also, we'll put new wheel cylinders on. We'll do the brake lines and everything on a pair of trestle horses, and that way it's going to be much easier than doing it in the car, and then I can just put it back in the car when we're done. New bushes down here on the shackles. These ones down here look a bit worn too, so I might have to put some of those in. So I'm going to leave it there. We've achieved an awful lot. We're ready to redo this rear axle, and the next part we'll have that all cleaned up and painted and start putting it together and put it back in the car. There's also considerable work to do on the front suspension. I still haven't started the thing. I should have started it by now, but I haven't got round to getting a battery yet, so we'll do that in the next one as well. There should really only be one more after that. So this is the 8th part. There should be a 9th, which will basically be getting the thing running. And then the 10th, we need to go and get a few bits of work done to it. The over axle pipe to the tailpipe, that needs to be redone, that part. And then we go for roadworthy and, you know, see what's left, or see what they find in terms of repairs we need to do. There's also the interior to do, bits of the interior, the seats and that sort of thing. I might show a little bit of that, I'm not sure. Okay then, see you later.